Today's discussion centers on a critical issue shaping modern American politics: voting rights, political agendas, and the legacy of past reforms. As lawmakers reflect on policies tied to civil rights and electoral access, a deeper debate emerges. Are current political strategies addressing long-term public needs, or simply reacting to shifting narratives? Let's break down what's at stake.
We have legislation that has led to redistricting around the country, which limits people of color in a very dramatic way in terms of representation. And the Supreme Court is sitting up holding its decision on Section 2 on whether to take race out of the Voting Rights Act. So in many ways, President Kennedy's grandson was here yesterday. In many ways, with Kennedy and Johnson established Civil Rights Act 64, Voting Rights Act 65, they're in front of our face in clear view, trying to upend everything that...
The argument here connects several major policy debates, voting rights, healthcare, and political messaging, into one broader concern about representation and strategy. References to redistricting and the Voting Rights Act reflect ongoing legal and political battles, particularly around how electoral boundaries and laws impact minority participation. At the same time, the mention of the Affordable Care Act highlights how policy outcomes don't always align neatly with political geography. The key question becomes, should political parties focus more on proactive policy agendas or on countering their opponents' narratives? And how might that choice shape voter trust and long-term engagement?
Came out of the civil rights movement and led to not only helping blacks and browns, but women and others. Do you think the party ought to be really bringing that down? Because this affects rural voters. Another son of your state, Barack Obama, passed the Affordable Care Act. That affected more people in red states and helped more farmers.
And their representatives are trying to take it away.
That's right. Do you think these are the kinds of things that the National Party ought to be more clearly bringing out and not letting... My fear is that they're letting Trump set the agenda and we're reacting to what he's talking about rather than acting on what people are concerned about.
I'm so glad you said that because, I mean, yeah, you know, you're right. So much of what's been happening is really a reaction to the everyday beating everybody over the head that Donald Trump has been doing every day. I'm sure you're feeling it. I remember 6 months into Joe Biden's term, I thought, wow, it's so quiet. Do you remember? Because it was so loud every day with Donald Trump, and now we're back in this mode again. Yes, there's a lot of reacting. We need to be proactive. Here's the one thing that we should take away and learn from what Donald Trump has done. He came into office with an agenda, and he essentially has invoked and gotten passed almost all of his agenda in a year. We need to have our agenda, and we need to make sure we pass it in a first year of a Democratic administration. And it needs to be bold. And it needs to include the restoration of voting rights. I want to say proudly that my state has elected more black congressmen and women than any other state in the country. And it should be that we're bragging about a whole bunch of states competing for that. But when they take away voting rights, it makes it harder and harder and harder. But I'm telling you, in my state, we expanded voting rights. We already did that by state law. We made it easier for people to vote. We made it easier for you to vote by mail. You can now check a box when you vote and say, I want to vote by mail every time, and then you have the opportunity to get a ballot in the mail every single time, if that's what makes it easier for you to vote. We have drop boxes. We have tried to make it available to everybody. Voting is perhaps the most important thing that we've got to expand the rights of. But the agenda, and I'll call it Agenda 48, because the 48th president of the United States, who's going to be a Democrat, has got to have an agenda that's bold and gets passed right away.
The agenda is going to lead to a Democrat.
This discussion reflects a broader strategic crossroads in modern politics, between reacting to dominant figures and building independent, forward-looking agendas. Issues like voting access, healthcare, and representation remain central, but how they are communicated may be just as important as the policies themselves. The long-term impact will depend on whether leaders can translate these priorities into sustained public trust and measurable outcomes. What's your view? Should political movements focus more on bold policy action or on countering opposing narratives? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more clear, balanced breakdowns of the issues shaping today's political landscape.